Switched on FM 104, and the launch of Ireland's first satellite into orbit, Eirsat-1, happened on the 1st of December. We're joined by testing and operations Aaron Empey. Hello.
Hi Louise, how are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for chatting to us. This is very exciting, but it's something that's been going on much longer of a time for you guys. So it started in March 2017, but how did it all begin?
That's right. So yeah, the project's been 6 years in the making now. So it started off with a call out from the European Space Agency, their education academy called. There was a program called FYS, or Fly Your Satellite, and so basically it's a program which is with the European Space Agency that allows university teams to build their own satellite and use the guidance and the expertise of experts from the European Space Agency, and as well as their test facilities, to basically they bring us through the process of designing, building, testing, and eventually, as we had on last Friday, launching your own satellite. So it started off with a call for proposals, and a couple of members of the team that are still part of the team here put in a proposal, and the rest is history.
What was the proposal at the start, or how has it been kind of changed over those last few years?
So, I mean, there's been lots of technical changes to the satellite because, we started off with basically no experience in Ireland on how to design and build your own satellite. So the team went in with a detailed proposal with with a certain structure, so the structure that we have on the satellite now, and with different details of the experiments that are on board. And basically, the idea was, we want to run these experiments, and this is the kind of shape of the satellite that we want, and this is how it's roughly going to operate. And then across the 6 years, because again, through the help of the European Space Agency and the experts that they have there, we were able to modify and test these different components that we wanted to have, and obviously build them as well. And just through different tests, we were able to refine our design and make sure that the satellite was strong and healthy enough, and to be able to survive a rocket launch and to survive in space. So that's essentially how it went.
So tell us, how did it go on the 1st of December? Did it go as planned?
Yes, it did.
Excellent.
It was actually, long story short, it did. And we were all thrilled. So it launched from California, from the Vandenberg space, or the rock launching site in California, and it went up with a SpaceX rocket, a Falcon 9, and it deployed into space at around an hour and a half after the launch, and then a few hours later it turned on, and we were able to see that the satellite was healthy and the antennas deployed first time, and that everything was working just as we wanted to. And everyone here in the team was just so proud and so happy that everything had gone just really, really, really well.
I can imagine, because I'd say waiting for that moment to see that it had actually worked and it was there and was in position must have been tense, but also quite exciting.
Oh, I can tell you, it was very tense here watching the launch as well, because rockets can have problems themselves, and then once it was in space, that was fantastic for us to say that our little satellite had finally been into space. Was just amazing. But then after that, we were all very anxious to get the first signal and to check that everything was healthy and everything that worked. And thankfully, it was, and Eirsat-1 was operating perfectly.
So now that it's up there, what are we looking for with it, or what's it testing for?
Yeah, so I suppose there's two sides to it. So as I kind of mentioned previously, we had never done this in Ireland before. So this is the first Irish satellite that was being designed, built, and put into space by Ireland. And so one side of what we're looking at one side of it was training, a workforce and a team that can do this. So one set of the data that we're looking at from the satellite is just the health of the satellite. So, how its battery is doing, the temperatures on board, how it's transmitting data, and just making sure that everything's healthy and that the satellite's, working. So that's, I suppose, one side of it. But then the other side of it is the science side of it. So we have three experiments on board Airsat. Um, so I can go through them. So one of them, the first one, the main primary one is called the gamma ray module, or GMOD for short. And so what this is doing is it's detecting some of the most violent and energetic bursts of radiation that we can see in outer space, called gamma rays.
Mm-hmm.
And gamma rays are caused by some of the supermassive stars dying, or supermassive stars colliding into each other, and they emit this burst of energy. And so we have a little detector on board called GMOD, like I said, and this is going to be detecting these bursts of radiation and trying to basically record how bright they were and how long they last.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the experiments on board. The second one is called EMOD, or the NBio module. And if you saw a picture of Eirsat-1, or you looked it up online, what you'll see is on the top of the satellite is almost like a small checkers board,
Mm-hmm.
2 black squares and 2 white squares. And what these are they're thermal coupons. So there's a company in Cork called Empey Limited, and they make these special thermal coatings. So basically a kind of paint that you can put onto satellites or onto spacecraft in general, that protect the inside of the spacecraft from radiation in space,
Mm-hmm.
or from the harsh environment that outer space is. And so these thermal coatings have special properties for, reflecting radiation, or absorbing it, or dissipating it. And so what our second experiment, EMOD, is doing is taking these little coupons, these 4 squares, and just testing how this thermal coating, this paint, works in space.
Oh, cool.
For future missions, these 2 colors, solar black and solar white, are what they're called. They're being commissioned for other space missions in the future. So we'll be getting a test to see how they react in space.
It's very cool to be included as a country as well as for you guys, that for these things that have never been done before.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's like I said, there's so many different parts of the project to be excited about,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just incredible that it's all gone so well, and that it's looking good for the next future anyway.
I was saying to you, because it is so interesting, but when I was looking up all about it, I kind of went down a rabbit hole, because there's so much to learn, and it's just fascinating kind of what's out there and what I have no idea about.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the things that drew me into studying astrophysics, and studying and going into studying space, was because, just like you said, there's so much out there that we don't know, and there's so much possibility for discovery and for, advancing our own knowledge, and that's one of the things I love most about it.
Yeah.
And Eirsat-1 is doing that.
How long is it?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
sorry, there was one other experiment as well, which was the WBC, the wave-based control. And essentially what that is, it's a software experiment. So it's software that the team wrote here in UCD, and it's basically a new way of telling the satellite how to orientate itself in space.
Okay.
Because the direction that the satellite points in is very important for several reasons. For example, we have solar panels on board, and you need to know to be able to point to the sun to get power, and we need to point our antennas towards Earth if we want to communicate with it. So it's a new way of controlling how the satellite controls itself.
How long is it going to last in space for? Do we know?
So we don't have a fixed number at the moment, but what our estimates are at around 3.5 years. And the reason why we're not so sure is because the satellite itself doesn't have any thrusters or any rockets essentially on it. And so the lifetime of the satellite is purely dependent on how long it takes to fall back into Earth. So the satellite's currently orbiting around Earth at a certain altitude. And then over time, this altitude will slowly start to decrease, and the satellite will start to spiral into Earth, essentially. And the end of the satellite's lifetime will be once it enters Earth's atmosphere and completely burns up. So from our current calculations, we think it's going to be in around 3.5 to 4 years, maybe. Between 3 and 4 years anyway. But like I said, that's only a rough number for now.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of information as well it's collecting, because it passes over Dublin. Is it twice a day?
Well, so we have around between 6 and 7 times a day where we can communicate with it.
Oh, cool.
So it passes over, it does one full rotation of Earth roughly every 90 minutes
Okay.
across the day, but we can only communicate with it once it's above the horizon and below the horizon with respect to Dublin, or
Yeah.
with respect to our ground station here in Dublin, or we also have a ground station in Kerry, so whichever one is best suited. Um, but yeah, so there's lots of information, and the satellite itself logs this information very regularly, and so we'll have lots to look at for sure.
Excellent. Is there anywhere we can keep up to date with how it's getting on?
Yes, so we're active on social medias. So we have an Instagram account. I believe there's an X or a Twitter account as well for Eirsat-1. And as well, if you look online, if you just search Eirsat-1, we have our own website, and there'll be links there to more information about the satellite itself, but also hopefully in the future we're aiming to have a little bit of like a mini kind of a dashboard, which might show like the latest updates of the satellite and show how it's doing, and maybe even some of the data. But we're
Excellent.
currently working on that.
Amazing.
Um, but yeah, and also we're open to anyone who wishes to contact us, ask questions or anything like that. We're happy to share.
Amazing. I cannot wait to see what comes from it. Aaron Empey, testing and operations with Eirsat 1. Thank you very much for chatting to us.
Thanks, Louise.